another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host, Brian Parker, along with my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
I am good, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm all right on one hand. I won my fantasy Super Bowl.
I saw that. Congratulations. You know what was crazy about that is you won by 1 point, I saw. And usually those 1 point swings, they could be a little tricky, man, because the NFL could go back and retabulate.
Yeah, that's true. It was way tricky because he had CD Lamb and CD went the hell off the other night. And then I had Tyreek, and I'm like, okay, Tyreek should put up some good numbers, and he didn't. And that killed me. And then I had Purdy, and Purdy didn't really do that well. So I was like, man, this is just crazy. And for the longest, the projection kept showing that he was going to beat me by like 10 or something like that. And it really came down to Isaiah Pacheco was only forecasted to do about 12 points. And I needed him to do at least 21 to win.
Yeah.
And Pacheco went the hell off. That was it.
It is crazy, though. Like with 1 point victories, I've seen it before where you will wake up winning like on a Tuesday morning. And then they go back and do reprojections. Mm-hmm. Like, say, for instance, CD Lamb, that 16-yard out, all of a sudden becomes a 15-yard out because they miscalculated in the game. Mm-hmm. And now because of that 1 yard, you losing by that 1 point.
Exactly.
So it's crazy. I've had that not happen to me, but it's happened for me.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For that crown next year.
Yes, sir. I think this is my second one. So third time, I believe, in it, and second time winning. So, it feels real good. But thank you, everybody else, for tuning in. We are streaming live and direct on X, formerly known as Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook Live, YouTube, and Roku, Amazon Fire, as well as Instagram. So we are streaming. Matter of fact, let me pull up this Instagram, make sure we are still on. Yes, we are. All right. We are still on Instagram. So yeah, we are definitely there. Y'all can check us out every single week. We are here Wednesdays at 7:00 for the sports show all the way through Super Bowl. So you got us for a couple of more weeks. We just wrapped up the week 17 in the NFL, so we have one more week of the regular season. And there's still some teams out there that really need things to go their way. Some they control their own destiny, and some are going to need a little bit of help. We'll talk about all of that and talk about some other little things going on in the NFL, including what the hell is going on with Russ and the Broncos. There's a petition in the Charlotte Observer to get Dave Tepper fired. So I just thought that was pretty funny. And does he really need to go? Does he need me and Rand to come over and help him pack? So a couple things going on. Steelers continue their was it 17, 18 consecutive years of non-losing?
So that's 17 straight years, man.
Straight years. So all of that going on in the NFL, and we'll talk about the teams that have clinched, the teams that, if as they proverbially say, if the season ended today, these teams would be in, and which ones still could be booted out and whatnot. So we'll get into all of that as well. Y'all let us know if you have any questions, comments. We'll try to address them as much as we can live on the air. Speaking of which, jumping right into it, Rand, your Steelers had a second outing again with one Mason Rudolph at the helm, putting up back-to-back 30-point games. I mean, what the hell?
This has been the craziest football season I've ever witnessed. When you got the third stringer, Mason Rudolph, coming in, a quarterback that we pretty much left for dead. He was almost not on the team this year.
Right.
And this dude comes in slinging.
He was really crazy. It was an afterthought.
Yes, he was an afterthought. It was He just got onto the roster the final game of the preseason. Because there was a lot of thought about us rolling just with two quarterbacks, like a lot
Right.
of teams do. So
Mm-hmm.
thank God we kept this guy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean he didn't throw for a touchdown, but he didn't throw any interceptions either. So he protected the ball. He did what you need your third string quarterback that would come into a game to do, is not lose the game for you, but keep the game going. And that's exactly what he did. He got the ball into the hands of his playmakers. Pickens, 131 yards off 7 carries. Najee Harris looked like the Najee of old, of 27 carries, 122 and 2 touchdowns. So I mean, he had them boys fired up doing their thing.
Oh yeah. I'm just really pleased with the Steelers going out there and putting up another 30-point performance. That's something that we really have not seen all year, and now we've seen it back-to-back games with Mason at the quarterback. We've seemed to have found our rushing attack again, which is
Wow.
great. Tomlin's just amazing to me. The guy's frustrating. It's like he'll win the games he's not supposed to win, but he
Mm-hmm.
also loses the games that he's supposed to win. And I guess you just have to stick through all of that frustration, because at the end of the day, who is not going to sign up for a coach that has the team with a winning record for 17 straight years?
Mm-hmm.
And you're either in the playoffs or you're fighting for the playoffs in week 18 for all 17 years. Everybody's going to sign up for that, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to want to go through no 4-12s and 4-13s and 5-12s.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh has just been fortunate enough to not have to go through any of that for the past 17 years. So are we a little spoiled as Steeler fans? Yeah, because we do want that championship. We do want that number 7. So sometimes we criticize coach for losing those games that we're supposed to win.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, we got to kind of endure those valleys, because there's a lot of peaks in those valleys along the way.
Well, I will say this, Grant, and to your point, the Steelers rushed for 202 yards against the Seahawks, 88 yards. I mean, that's a hell of an attack. You just keep pounding and pounding and pounding and daring them to stop you. Shout out to Anitra Barrow for joining in. Hey, Anitra, how you doing, darling? Um, but the thing about the Steelers that you will see in those ebbs and flows, it happens within the season. And what I mean by that is, take a team like Carolina. Well, they had the ebb and they never got the flow. It just ebbed all season long. There was never a point where you could say, okay, they're righting the ship. Like when they got rid of the offensive coordinator and they started doing these other things and they make changes. They're not afraid to make changes. They knew Kenny Pickett was their starting quarterback, but Tomlin, even though Pickett has been cleared to play again, Tomlin's like, no, I'm going with the hot hand. He's
And
not
he's got the
beholden,
confidence to do that.
right? He's not beholden to the fact of, well, this is my guy, so I got to roll with my guy no matter what, even though he's not the hot hand right now. Other organizations, a lot of times, even when it's in their best interest, they shoot themselves in the face a lot of times because they will not take chances like that. But you could kind of see the Steelers were not okay with the mediocrity and decided, you know what we've been doing isn't working. Let's
Yeah.
do something else. And how does let's do something else involve your third string quarterback and translate into success? But guess what? It did.
Yeah, and he's just not afraid to pull those punches. Like a lot of quarterbacks, not a lot of quarterbacks, I'm sorry, a lot of head coaches
Mhm.
and GMs would have been like, well, Mitchell Trubisky. I was about to say his real name, but
Right?
let me keep it real and say his name that he really needs,
Mhm,
Trubisky.
mhm.
He's got a 2-year, $4 million contract, and Mason Rudolph is earning the league minimum. You need
Right,
to put Trubisky out there no matter what, because he's under contract, blah, blah, blah.
right.
Mike T don't care about all that. Give me the dude that's going to give us the best chance to win.
That's right.
Period.
That's right. That's right. I love that about him because, yeah, he's been under fire and the talks about him being on the hot seat a little bit, and rightfully so. There's a lot of coaches out there that have been fired for less. Uh,
Yeah.
a lot of impatient teams and organizations and fan bases out there and things like that. But what he's done with this team to kind of not lose them and to still again have winning seasons. When you see some of these teams that can't win 2 games a year, um, and then you look at the continued success of the Steelers to be able to do this year in and year out, really, really says a lot about the organization and them backing their head coach through thick and thin.
Yeah. He always turns it on down the stretch, right? And gets the team playing and humming right before the playoffs. I
Mhm.
don't know how he does it, but he does it. It's just crazy to me that it's happening again this year. But I'm
Yeah.
very thankful for it because here we are looking at our Baltimore team that we got to play this Saturday. And it's lined up pretty good for us. No Lamar Jackson. Lamar ain't playing, man.
Is
So
he not?
he's not. They're resting a lot of starters. That's why I say it's lined up very well for us. But then again, we lose those type of games too. We got Huntley that's going to be starting. Um, but I mean, he's capable. So I don't sleep on Baltimore still. It's going to be tough, especially in Baltimore.
Yeah, I kind of thought that if they did beat the Dolphins, that this would be a game where they would do that because they not basically they have clinched the number one seed in the AFC. No other team, uh, regardless if they win this last game, could catch them because the Ravens have 13 wins. So even if they lose to the Steelers and go 13-4, the only other teams, and this is crazy to say, the only other teams that are close enough to them that still can't catch them are the Browns at 11-5. The Browns.
Yeah, crazy.
The Browns at
Crazy
11.
year, man.
It
Crazy
almost
year.
makes me laugh to say that. And the Dolphins and the Browns both are at 11-5. So even if they won, it'd only be 12 games. It wouldn't be 13. So the Ravens have the number one seed, which is ideal for them because they really, really needed that to hopefully for them get that monkey off their back about early exits from the playoffs. Hopefully, not having to play in that week one round and prepare for the week two of the playoffs will give them a leg up in whoever they have to play. Hopefully, it doesn't always translate that way, but hopefully, it'll give them that momentum they need to be able to go ahead and barrel through deep into the playoffs. To me, for the Ravens, it's going to be AFC Championship or bust. If they don't get, I mean, if you come away with, say they do beat the Steelers, no, you don't want to think about that. But say they do, that means they would have 14 wins in the 17-game season, 13 or 14. If you don't make it to the AFC Championship game, that was for nothing. And I know a lot of
Yeah,
I know
especially
a
when
lot of
you're
Raven fans after Sunday that was
yeah,
definitely putting their chest out on social media. And you know what? After watching Lamar dominate that game against the Dolphins the way he did, look, it's still hard for me to take the Ravens seriously because of their postseason woes and stuff. But watching Lamar Jackson go 18-21, which isn't a lot of passes, but damn it, he only missed three. For 321, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions. As
yeah. But here's the thing.
man, I
This is
gotta
what
give
you
him credit.
I got to give him credit too. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I'm gonna go back to the point what you were getting at before you gave him the credit, and that's the fact that it will all be for naught if he gets into the first round of the playoffs and
Yeah.
plays terrible,
Yep.
and they're going home with him having a 0 touchdown day and 3 picks. That
Right.
will be just
It'll be a
awful,
disaster. It'll be a disaster because
disastrous.
there's a 90% chance that he's going to end up with the MVP.
Hmm.
You know, as Christian McCaffrey kind of goes more to the back of people's minds, and it's kind of almost unfair because Christian started out so fast Lamar started out so slow. But what's going to happen is people are going to go with what they remember last.
Of course.
They ain't going to remember all them consecutive games of touchdowns that McCaffrey had. They going to remember, dang, man, Lamar caught lightning in a bottle at the end of the season. He's definitely the MVP. That's all I've been hearing now. Like, he's just clear-cut MVP. Like, there's nobody else should even be in the conversation anymore. It's Lamar. It's Lamar. It's Lamar.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
well, great.
it up.
Yeah, great. So, okay, if it's Lamar, and like exactly like you said, Lamar wins the MVP, they start in the second round because they're going to get the first round bye, and they lay an egg or don't get to the AFC Championship game. That's going to look even worse.
It's going to look terrible because what's the knack been on Lamar his whole career besides injury? You know, he's finally healthy going into the playoffs. But besides that, what has the knack been on him?
Yeah, can't do it in the playoffs.
Can't do it in the playoffs. So,
yeah,
it's just going to be interesting.
They're the odds-on favorite. I mean, they just tore down Miami 56-19, and Miami is almost starting to make me believe that they're the AFC's version of the Dallas Cowboys.
They are.
They beat up on the teams that shouldn't even come out there that day, but the teams that are very competitive, that have good winning records and stuff like that, they struggle mightily against.
Big time.
So I'm really starting to notice that, and it's not that they can't be an offensive juggernaut. The quarterback is capable of throwing a whole lot of yards. They got receivers that are capable of getting a whole lot of yards. But then when they play teams that are on their level or very competitive with them, they don't do as well. But then they'll go play Denver and hang 70 points on them. And you're thinking, oh, my God, these guys are invincible. And then they play somebody else, and you're like, the hell just happened?
Yeah, whoever puffs their chest up at the Dolphins, the Dolphins kind of cower back down.
Right.
Single time. We've seen it before, man. That some of the losses that they've had over the course of this season is like, wow.
Yeah, they've had some nice. They had some nice looking W's as from a points standpoint, but they've had some losses that just make you go, damn.
Yeah, some head scratchers for real.
Like William Ben Rose, how you doing, sir? Thanks for joining.
Ben, what's up, brother? How are you?
Oh my gosh, yeah, they've definitely laid some serious eggs there. He said, "Must be talking Dolphins."
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And I said that the Dolphins are starting to remind me of the AFC's version of the Dallas Cowboys, just in the fact that they seem to beat up on teams that are low-hanging fruit, had their record, and then when they actually have to play somebody, they look like just a bunch of bums. I hate to say it, like a bunch of scrubs. He said, "Hey, is he? Are you a Dolphins fan?"
No, Ben is a Saints fan.
Okay. Oh, well, we'll be talking about the Saints in just a minute because they have a chance of making the playoffs, but they're gonna need some serious help all around the place, not just Tampa losing, but I believe they also need Green Bay to lose or tie just to be able to get in. So it's going to take a couple of things. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, the Ravens, yeah, they're going to rest their starters. That made sense. Daughter lives in Miami. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's yeah. I love some South Beach. But yeah, the
Ben's daughter is ultra talented, ultra beautiful, just ultra everything, man. She's a special kid, going places in this world.
Nice. Love it for these kids out here. They got to fix this world that we done effed up royally. But yeah, so the Ravens have a chance. The Dolphins are definitely in, so that'll be another thing. Like I alluded to, ran the Browns are 11-5. So I can't.
Let me ask you this, B. So at the beginning of the season, when we're looking back at everything, right?
Yes.
If you would have had a crystal ball and you would have seen the Browns are going to finish, let's say 12-5, you would have thought you would have thought Deshaun Watson went the hell off, right?
Yeah. You would have been like, okay.
You would have thought so.
I would have been like, that money really paid off because they're getting their return on their investment. Deshaun is just lighting it up. Hell, he probably a top 5 candidate for MVP. Hell, if they 12-5, I'm definitely thinking that.
Yeah, I would have thought the same thing. but yeah.
Yeah, no. He's sitting up in the owner suite on the massage table, watching these games. Ain't got a care in the world. Browns could be a sleeper. Go Joe. Yeah, I see what you did there with Joe.
Joe was saving them for real.
Yeah. So yeah, they are definitely they're playing with house money. Think about it. I was telling my wife this the other day, and I'll tell you what I was referring it to specifically. But we were really playing with house money because once your starter goes down, a lot of times nobody expects much out of you. Like when the Bengals lost Burrow, everybody basically said, "Oh well, season's over." Their defense is off the hook too. It is, and that's really been keeping them in it. But I would say Brown has been doing a good job. Kareem Hunt's been doing a good job. They've been doing a good job all the way around. Supporting him, not making it again where he has to go out and win the game. Just keep things moving on time and let your special players do their special things. If you want to call that being a game manager, you call it whatever you want. But 11-5, I call that a winning record. You can call it whatever you want to. But
Flacco is kind of just doing what you said, man. It's house money for Joe Flacco. He doesn't care. He's out there slinging it. If he throws an interception, so what? They're expecting me to throw interceptions, but at the same time, I'm going to try to get these touchdowns in there.
36 or something. So they didn't expect much from a 36-year-old quarterback.
Yeah.
But he's doing his thing. Again, this proves to you everything that glitter ain't gold. You see these draft picks come out and everything else, how they played in Alabama or any of these highly heralded colleges doesn't always translate immediately to the NFL. You see a guy that's on the downside of his career. He's got a lot of experience, but his peak has definitely passed. He's just hanging on to a team because of his experience. And not only does he have all of that going, but he goes out and he performs very well. Flacco, 19 of 29, 309 yards. Bryce Young. There's 36-year-old quarterbacks throwing for 300 yards.
Man, look, we're going to have another Bryce Young discussion at some point during this show, bro.
Oh, yeah. 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. It can be done, Bryce. Just saying. Hell, even Trevor Siemian. Trevor who? On his, 100th team? 32 of 45. Salah let Trevor Siemian throw the ball 45 freaking times. 261, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. For the damn Jets. 45 passes. That's crazy.
That's crazy, man. Because I remember Simeon when he was with the Broncos and he wasn't capable of none of that.
They wouldn't let him throw. No. 45? Man, that's crazy. And Brees Hall still had only 13 carries for 84 yards. But that's just crazy. But Garrett Wilson actually broke out a little bit. That's kind of funny to say when he only had 5 receptions for 50 yards, but he had basically been invisible when Zach was out there trying to throw to him. So it was kind of good to actually see him catch some balls. The biggest beneficiary for the Cleveland Browns that I've noticed since Flacco has come in has been their tight end, David Njoku.
He's been reborn. That guy's been reborn.
He had 6 receptions for 134 yards.
Like, seriously. I mean, he's become one of the better tight ends in the AFC ever since Flacco's got there, but he didn't do anything with the previous quarterbacks.
Nope, not at all. So it's kind of funny to see that too. So good for the Brownies. I mean, again, if somebody had told me at the beginning of the season they were going to be 12-5 at the end of the year, I definitely would have said. Now it's going to be hard to get to 12-5 because it's a AFC North divisional game against the Bengals. So we'll see how that goes. It's gonna be Browning against Flacco. So we'll see. It's going to be in Cincinnati. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But the Browns have definitely clinched the number 5 seed right now in the AFC. So that'll be interesting to see as well. They've already got the 5 seed. Some other games of note that I saw last week. Texans did a good job coming back against the Titans as far as CJ Stroud coming back onto the field from his concussion protocol, 24-32, 213 and a touchdown. Tannehill back in the saddle again for the Titans. Ran with the Titans currently being at 5-11 and definitely gonna finish the season on a sour note. Is Vrabel coming back?
He's one of those that's just very iffy, man. I mean, he has not done a whole lot of improvement since their playoffs year, so I don't know. I mean,
yeah. It's
if
gonna be
one way or another, I'd say no.
I wouldn't think so either. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Next Monday to a lot of people is simply January the 8th. But in the NFL, it's known as Bloody Monday. Yeah, Black Monday, Bloody Monday. Hell, sometimes Sunday afternoon is kind of the prequel to it. Right after the game, they'd be like, I got a coach that could happen to, but definitely will happen to on Monday, if not Sunday afternoon. Hell, he might know by Saturday, and that's going to be one Ron Rivera. Unfortunately, he's coached his.
Rivera's definitely gone.
He will be coaching his last game for the Washington Commanders for sure, who just lost 27-10 to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Ron, before you go, I just need one itty favor. There's a team coming to visit y'all on Sunday that I can't stand. And Ron, I was having this conversation with the wifey just the other day about the fact that y'all have nothing to play for. You ain't going nowhere fast. You about to lose your job. So the one thing that you could do for me is beat the Cowboys. Why? Because nobody expects you to. And why? Because you could be the ones to play the role of spoiler. If you beat the Cowboys and the Eagles somehow miraculously win, then the Eagles will win the NFC East. But if the Cowboys and the Eagles finish with the same record, because they're both right now at oh God, what are they, 13 and something? The Cowboys are 11 and 5. They both 11 and 5. So even if they both end up 12 and 5, the Cowboys will win. I believe that's how it will be. I believe the Cowboys will still win the East. So I need the Washington Commanders to beat the Cowboys at home. Now, the Cowboys will most likely not want to rest anybody because they want to win the East. Now they're going to get they're going to go on the road, aren't they? I don't know how that's going to work. I'll have to see how that playoff implication works if they don't win the East. If they don't win the East, then they drop down to the 5 seed, and the Eagles move up to the 2 seed. So they would have that, meaning that 5 seed would have to go on the road. In the playoffs. That's what it is. So I need Washington to do me one good favor. Go in and get them Cowboys. Now, the likelihood of that happening, I'm gonna be honest, ain't that good.
About 10%.
But if I had $100,000 around, I would actually put it on on the Commanders, because that payday would be amazing if they did end up winning. If I just had an extra $1,000 laying around there, I didn't care if I lost it or not, I would do it, because the payday would just be crazy if I ended up winning. Yeah, I'd be a millionaire overnight. Ben says it is the Cowboys. True. Anthony says you got more faith in Ron Rivera than me. Good luck. Ron Rivera will get fired that same week. Oh no, Anthony. That's what I'm saying. They play the Cowboys on Sunday. I'm expecting Ron Rivera to either be fired Sunday night or first thing morning. I mean, by the time you wipe the sleep out your eyes on Monday morning, Ron Rivera is going to be an afterthought. But it's a good chance if that's an early enough game that they may go ahead and tell him, "Hey, Ron, we ain't even gonna sit there and make you sleep on this. It's a wrap. It's a 4:25 game, so they could let him know about 8:30. They go ahead and tell him."
I got another coach that's probably going to be getting the pink slip come Monday morning. Now that the Falcons have gone in the opposite direction down the stretch here, Arthur Smith is probably done in Atlanta, man. So just keep that name on the forefront too.
You said they went in the opposite direction with who?
Atlanta Falcons. They were in the running for the NFC South for a while, but they're starting to seriously drop now. So Arthur Smith is going to be up out of there, man.
Yeah, they have no shot. I don't give the Falcons any shot because right now the Falcons are 7-9, the Saints are 8-8, and the Bucks right now are 8-8. If the Bucks win, the NFC South is theirs. If the Bucks lose, the Packers. If the Bucks lose, and go 8-9, and the Saints win and go 9-8, then the Saints win the NFC South.
Yeah, Atlanta's basically dead. So
Atlanta, even if Atlanta wins, they would be 8-9, and 8-9 could get you in if
it won't get them in because of the tiebreakers.
But that'll be the problem because even if the Bucks lose and the Saints lose and then the Falcons win, it would be a 3-way tie for first place at 8-9. But to your point, Atlanta still wouldn't get in because of the tiebreakers. Yeah. So, Ben says, "Who that? Another year of having to get help." Yeah. I just don't know if the Bucks are going to give it to you because it's going to take. Even if the Bucks win, it would take the Packers losing for you to be able to get in too as a 7. I believe that's the only other way that And I didn't even think that there would be a possibility of 2 teams from the South getting in, but it is. Because
let's just be honest. Well, no, there's not a possibility of 2 getting in. It's just going to be the Saints or it's going to be the Bucks. But let's just be honest. Tampa is going to win against the Panthers.
Oh, yeah.
That's all they have to do.
That's all they got to do.
They're basically in there. They're basically in there.
Yes.
Carolina doesn't have a chance in
Sometimes that's why you can't let it go to the last game, because if the last game was a cupcake like the Panthers, I mean, my God, they might as well go ahead and just put the win in the win column right now. There is no way in the world. Now the Panthers are in the same position as the Commanders. You have nothing to play for other than playing the role of spoiler. You could do that. It ain't gonna do anything for you because you by losing last week, you guaranteed the worst record in the NFL, which means that the entire state of Illinois thanks you very much for your service. Jackasses.
Sadly, yeah.
The whole state of Illinois is like, woo, how about them Panthers? Jackasses. So anyway, I don't give the Saints or definitely the Falcons, but I don't give the Saints too much of a chance of getting it. Well, I mean, because they do play the Falcons. So one of them. So yeah, actually, if the Falcons win, then they tie with the Saints, and then that would kill the Saints. If the Saints beat the Falcons, then they would need a whole lot of help. They would need Tampa to lose. They would need Green Bay to lose or tie, and then they would be in. That's a lot of help. That's a lot of help. So we'll see how that goes. Anthony says, how much you want to bet Brandon Staley will get a job next season? Of course he will. Just as much as I expect Mitchell Trubisky to be on somebody's roster next season. It's going to happen. I don't know why, but it's gonna happen. I guarantee you both of those things are gonna happen. I guarantee you Josh McDaniels is gonna be a coach next year.
Somebody's going to look at
Somebody.
Mitchell Trubisky and say, we could fix him.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just has not been in the right system in Chicago and
They
Pittsburgh.
just didn't know. They just didn't know what they had.
They didn't know what they had. We could fix him. It's going to happen. It's going to
You
happen.
know it's gonna happen. And you'll be shaking your head like, how the hell? And then they get mad at Cam Newton when he's sitting there talking about people being game managers and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, all that blew up, and Lord, and poor Kimberly Martin caught a whole lot of hell about criticizing Cam, talking about, well, what team you playing on right now? Like whoa, like you shouldn't say all that. But yeah, so that's gonna be interesting to see how that shakes out. The Lions actually man, this Lions Cowboys game ran.
Oh man.
I mean, if that wasn't the biggest effort, you know what? I love Dan Campbell. I knew when it got down to less than a minute in that game that if the Lions scored, there was no way, I mean, zero chance he was going to play for the tie and take it to overtime. I knew he was going to go for two because that's just how he is. And he was playing with house money. They already won the NFC North. So they were basically already locked into the number two. No, number three. They weren't going to get higher than that, really. So he said, hey, if we play these Cowboys and we go ahead and get that 2-point conversion and beat them at home, that's gonna be a statement game. That's gonna be our statement.
Yeah.
And they went for the two and they got it. And I'm in my car listening. I'm rocking, celebrating. Yeah, you Cowboys. Yeah. Wait a minute, there's a flag now. Oh,
a flag like 2 minutes later.
I said, damn, the Cowboys that held somebody in the end zone. Oh well, decline. Good night. There was a flag because there was a ineligible receiver.
Yeah. The Lions basically had this game taken from them.
They did.
And a lot of Cowboy fans want to be out there talking about, well, what about the trip and play before that, blah, 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 and got their own explanation of events of what happened. No, the referees took this game from the Detroit Lions, and that's just what it is.
Man, let me ask you something. If you are a line player and you walk over to the referee before play starts, are y'all talking about your New Year's plans by chance?
He's reporting as eligible.
There's only one reason that this dude is walking over to you. Only one.
He's reporting as eligible. He's reporting as eligible.
That's common sense.
And the referee got the wrong man as reporting as eligible.
Right.
And therefore, when the guy that really was eligible caught the pass in the end zone, they said that he's guilty of an illegal touch.
Right.
I would have been furious too. The NFL has, pretty much sounded off on this thing. Said the referees made a mistake in this. So all you Cowboy fans trying to come up with alternative explanations for what happened, stop it. Stop it.
Why?
This game was taken from the Detroit Lions.
NFL reverse that if that would have been the final call anyway. Why couldn't they just reverse that? There was practically not much time left where the Cowboys, even if they would have got the ball kicked to them, the probability of them doing something with a second or two left isn't going to happen. Why couldn't they just give them the say, you know what, the final score should be 21-20, period.
Yeah, with this particular one, it took like an investigation, not just a call back to New York to find out what's going on here. You got to read lips and get the two sides of everything that happened from the player standpoint and referee standpoints. So this one is more like an investigation, something that couldn't have overturned something within a game. But it was just straight up taken from Detroit, and I'm glad it's not going to cost them anything really, because like you said, they are still winners of the North, um, so they could afford to lose that game. But I just thought
But
that
it helped the
rolling the dice.
Cowboys. It helped the Cowboys more than it hurt the Lions.
You're right
Because
about that. It did help the Cowboys because if they see the
Cowboys,
Cowboys in the playoffs again, they'll have to play that game in Dallas again as opposed to coming to Detroit. So you're right about that.
Correct.
So in a way, yes, that did kind of hurt. But it's just a shame when referees can't get something like that correct, and the NFL has to step in and then exhort their power and say, "You referees will not be officiating in the playoffs this year."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sorry, Anthony. I missed your comment. When are coaches fired? That Monday or next week? Oh, it's immediately after the season ends. They don't hesitate. Season ends on Sunday. Coaches get fired Sunday night and Monday. That's it.
Like Monday.
Yeah, because what they'll do. A lot of teams that aren't going to the playoffs, what'll happen is that they'll hold all their exit interviews. Players start emptying out their lockers and stuff like that. Coaches will sit there and meet with the owners for their end of the year meeting, talk about how the year went, pluses, minuses. And at that point, the owner may say, yeah, all that sounds good, but I'm going to pass. So a lot of times they'll talk to the GM, they'll talk to the coach, see where their head is a lot of times and make a decision. But a lot of times the decision is already made. But sometimes what they're looking at is maybe this coach is going to say something that's going to shake me to my core to make me change my mind that I'm about to fire this joker. But 9 times out of 10, they just go ahead with it. They already kind of have in their mind what they're going to do when they have those end of the year meetings. Let me see. Being said, LOL, poor Panthers. I'm asking for spoiler, but yeah, I don't feel it. I don't feel it either. Not from the Panthers. Don't ask for the Panthers to give you anything other than $8 tickets. They can do that.
Yeah,
they got plenty.
yeah.
They got
That
plenty of
game will be.
tickets. So, that's just crazy. Anthony says, "Can I share an NCAA statement I was thinking about?" Yeah, go ahead. He said that same ref will be the crew for the Pittsburgh versus Ravens game.
Unfortunately, yeah. If
Oh
I'm
Lord.
back here next Wednesday pissed off at a call, you're gonna know the reason why.
Right. And I'll make another NCAA statement. Florida State, y'all might have done better than Bama. Anyway, oh man, what's going on? What is going on? So yeah, it was crazy just to kind of see how that game ended up. Cowboy fans, they weren't so crazy on my feed other than just going a win's a win, moving on. Like, yeah, you definitely want to say a win's a win, moving on, because you don't want to have to address what everybody saw in real time, which was a total robbery that took place. So definitely that was one of the craziest games. I'm trying to see, the Bills seem to have a hard time with the Patriots, but they ended up beating them. But the shocker of the week for me wasn't the fact that the Eagles lost again, but they lost to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the shocker also was the fact that it was 21-6 at halftime. And then the Cardinals ended up outscoring them 29-10 in the second half. Like, they just woke up out of their deep sleep. They were handling the Cardinals, and then all of a sudden, here comes little Mighty Mouse Kyler Murray throwing touchdowns in the second half. After the rough start, he had one pick. Jalen Hurts has just not looked like himself. He threw 3 touchdowns, but he only threw for 167 yards. They have just basically imploded. They really
Yeah, and at a very bad time. And from what I'm hearing, man, something's going on within the locker room with the Eagles. And first of all, you got the Smith injury for them. Devontae Smith is apparently hurt, and I don't know if he's going to suit up for this next game. I don't even know his playoff implications. But what I'm hearing on the inside is AJ Brown is causing a lot of ruckus within that locker room, man.
What?
And yeah, and
Wow.
really starting to turn players against one another, and it's kind of spilling out onto the play on the field as we've seen it over the past couple of weeks.
Take
Now,
care.
of course, I am not in the locker room, so I can't tell you exactly what, but from the insiders that I'm hearing from, it's an AJ Brown situation that they're trying to deal with and sort out, which is a little crazy.
Wow. Wow. Man, I mean, when teams start out 11-1, and then they lose four games like that, it's I mean, I understand players getting frustrated, but that's when the locker room has to come together even more because everybody's starting to ask. Every time a reporter comes by, they're going to start asking, and you guys have to kind of, you know, mend together and everything so that things like that don't happen. But you start getting players sitting there sabotaging the team, that just makes it worse and worse and worse. So that's sad to hear because I thought AJ was really, really one of those leaders on that team. So if he's doing some stuff that's dividing the team, that's not going to help, and they're going to be an early out in the playoffs if they can't figure out how to right this ship.
Yeah, especially with him being the number one wide receiver, and with Smith now out, he's definitely
Yeah.
the number one wide receiver. So there's some type of situation between him and Hurts. They gonna really need to get that sorted out quick.
Mm. Well, you'll know if they don't because before March, he'll be traded. If that's the case. Now they do have what you would think is a get right game. They're playing the Giants for the second time in 3 weeks. But if you remember, the last time they played the Giants 2 weeks ago, that was not an easy win.
Yeah,
And the Giants remember that. Now they got to come to New York, right up the road, but they're still in
yep,
New York, and they got to play them at home. So Saquon's gonna be ready. Danny DeVito's gonna be ready. Here, Danny DeVito's gonna be playing quarterback. Um, no, I'm sorry. It may not be DeVito. It was
Tyrod.
yeah, Tyrod Taylor last time that came
Yeah,
in. So we'll see who the quarterback for the Giants is gonna be, but that's gonna be one of them games. The Giants know, hey, we can play a little bit of spoiler too, because if we keep them from winning, even if the Commanders beat Dallas, but we beat Philly, then they have no chance of winning the NFC East. So you got that going on. Anthony says Vegas got their hands on the NCAA playoffs. 80% of people had Texas winning it all. Nobody had Michigan versus Washington in the final. Yeah, that's true. He also says, have you noticed Eagles always good the first half, then the second half it's a different team. And then he said, man, trading AJ Brown, that's a plus. That's a first round pick and more. Is AJ Brown still a first round pick?
not if this controversy in the locker room turns out to be true. No.
Because he's going to be kind of damaged goods at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, you causing locker room issues. I mean, nobody's giving up a first round for that.
Yeah, that sound either like a second and a fifth or a third and a sixth or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I, yeah. I just or if somebody I could give you my third round pick. No, no. Yeah, because if he's that toxic in the locker room, you really gonna give a first round pick for a guy that may sit there and come in and tear up your locker room?
hell no.
And he ain't getting no younger. So, and this will be his third team wherever he gets traded to. So, there's going to be some wear and tear. And do you really want the bus to break down on your watch, or that kind of thing? So you have to weigh all that out. Would 2 years ago would he have gotten a first round pick? Probably so. I just don't think he's at that point, age wise and career wise, right now where he can do that. Um, I just don't see it. There's only a few receivers that I can see right now. If you say, hey, trade him, he's going to get you a first round pick. Main one I can think about is Devontae. Devontae can still get you first. Tyreek can still get you first. Those are guys like that. I kind of put AJ in the next set of receivers up under that. I don't really see him as a guy that's going to pull your first round pick anymore. But close.
I don't see that.
But pretty close, pretty close. But yes, the Eagles were the most disappointing game. Like I said, they have a get right game with the Giants if they can get their act together. As you know, going into the playoffs, you want to finish strong. You don't want to finish limping into the playoffs because you're normally going to be able to say, hey, we made it, but then you're going to get bounced in the first round or two. And it's not going to really mean a whole lot. So that's going to be interesting. So, Rand, if you look at it, in the AFC right now, those that have clinched, of course, are the Ravens. At 13-3, you've got the Dolphins right up under them at 11-5. The Dolphins currently are leading in the AFC East right now, but only by one game.
Yeah, there is the Sunday night game with the Bills. The Sunday night game with the Bills is going to decide the AFC East.
Isn't that something? It's going to come down to that last game, and they got to play the team that could be the reason that they win or don't win it.
Yeah, the NFL schedule makers are freaking geniuses, man.
I mean, how did they come up with this? How did
I'm
they
telling you,
that is
last year was the Chargers Raiders game that decided it in the end, and the game where they could not tie or Pittsburgh would not have made the playoffs, but they ended up kicking a field goal in overtime, so they didn't tie. It's just crazy, man, how they come up with this.
It's nuts, man. It's nuts. So yeah, the East will be decided, and that's crazy. It comes down to the last game. You know, they're clinched because if they don't win it, then they're still going to be in it because of their record. But my God, you can go from being the number 2 seed, and I believe that they would drop to the 5 seed, if I'm not mistaken, because they would go in as a wild card. So that would be crazy. They would actually drop down to the 5. You go from 2 to 5. The difference between 2 and 5, home games. That's the difference. You're a 5 seed. You play on the road every game. Unless you are the highest seed when you get as you progress. But yeah, that's going to be crazy. So then the 3 seed is going to be right now are the Chiefs, but the Chiefs have to play the Chargers. And then the 4 seed has not been determined yet, but the 4 seed currently would be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, again, this is another one of them games where Tennessee has nothing to play for other than playing the role of spoiler, because right now the Jaguars at 9-7 are in a 3-way tie with Indianapolis and Houston for first in the AFC South.
And those tiebreakers are too complicated and too complex for me to go into or even sort out. So for the AFC side, I'm just going to hope Pittsburgh wins, and then I'll just be waiting until Monday.
Yeah, because you're right. If Pittsburgh beats Baltimore, they'll be 10-7, but they will still need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
They're still going to need a little bit of help to be – now, they could get in, but they're going to need some serious help. And you're right. There's so many different ways the scenarios are going to have to drop. But I know that the Jags would have to lose. I know that the Texans would probably have to lose. And I know that the Bengals would have to lose.
Cincinnati doesn't control our interest because we've beaten them twice so far.
That's right. So you got to break against them. That's correct.
They're out of the way. But as far as the Texans, the Colts, and the who else in the South? Jaguars. We've lost to all 3 of them. So we would need some help. I mean, one of them is going to win the division, but then whoever the other 2 teams are that don't win the division, we need some help from, because we lost to both of those teams already. So it's just crazy, man. Too much to sort out, too much of a headache. I'm gonna just wait, hope Pittsburgh wins, and then let things fall where they fall.
Anthony said, we were talking about how you were talking about how the NFL schedule folks are geniuses and stuff, but he commented, he said, yeah, but still can't get the Thursday night games right. I'll be honest, Anthony, I saw a few better Thursday games this year than I did last year.
I agree. They've improved with that. They have.
Yeah. There was some. I mean, I'll be honest. There were some Monday night games where I was like, "Damn, why is this a Monday night game?" And it ended up being like, "Damn, that was a good game." I was like, "Wow, that's absolutely crazy." So you never really know. But it just seemed the first year that they put it on Amazon for the Thursday games, they were duds. They were sleepers. They were like, "Are you serious? Get out of here!"
Terrible.
But this past year, I will give the Thursday games a lot more credit. They did Thursday games. They did all those Thanksgiving games. They Black Friday games and all that kind of stuff. That was amazing. So I will give the season a very high mark as far as games and matchups overall. There were still some duds, but then there were some games where you were just like, I didn't see that coming. I just did not see that coming.
Yeah, dud on paper, but then when they play, it's like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. Then Anthony also says, I don't think if the Eagles stay at 5, they won't beat Tampa Bay in the first round. Tampa looks hungry. Well, I'm gonna agree with you because they would have to go to Tampa, and they
Yeah,
ain't look too good on the road.
I would agree with you too, because if you could lose and give up 35 in the process to the freaking Cardinals,
Cardinals,
you could lose to anybody, man.
amen. I mean, my God, the Cardinals have only at that point had only won 3 games all year. You gave them their 4th win to the Cardinals. So yeah,
And
I
gave
agree.
up 35.
And then he said what you had said early in the show. The Ravens not playing Lamar versus so Pittsburgh might get this win. Yeah, it's gonna take a lot more than Lamar not to play though.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh gonna have to come in and be serious and get this done and get it done early. Put them out early. Don't make this a fourth quarter game where the team with the ball last wins the game. Don't do that. Put them out of their misery in the third quarter and keep it moving. Make quick work of this. Hell, get enough good enough lead so maybe you can start resting some guys in the fourth quarter. Um, that kind of
It'd
thing.
be nice, but
It'd be
it
nice.
hasn't happened all year.
No, it ain't. It ain't. So yeah, Pittsburgh. Just because you don't see Mr. Video Game stick on the other side, that is not a given. That is only one piece of that puzzle that they got going on there. They got some guys that yes, Lamar is finding them open. Isaiah Likely, who knew he was likely to take over for Mark Andrews and do Mark Andrews things. That's really starting to show me that that tight end position is just one of those positions on that team that is a high production position because you got Isaiah Likely doing the same stuff that Mark Andrews was doing. Hell, he'll have 2 catches, but both of them are touchdowns. Like, damn, and still have like 60 yards. Dude's good. Um, if anything, next year, y'all need to run some 2 tight end sets. Oh my God. When it go empty backfield and you got Likely on one side, Andrews on the other side, OBJ, Duvernay, or whoever you got out there, just start slinging the ball. Oh my God. Um, I'll say this too about the Ravens. I was thinking this the other day. Lamar reminds me so much of Phillip Rivers because he has an awkward way of throwing the ball, but it works for him. It's almost that sidewinder that Rivers used to throw, but he throws it so effortlessly, and he throws it accurately. Most importantly, he throws it
They do
effortlessly.
kind of look the same. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's a sidewinder.
Yeah, those deliveries do look the same. Yeah.
Not an over. It's kind of more. He kind of
Yeah.
twisted. It's a weird motion. It's almost unnatural to throw that way. But when he does it, it doesn't look like he's contorting or he's doing something that he's not used to doing. That's just how he throws. It kind of reminds me. I don't know if you remember back in the NBA days, Vinny the Microwave Johnson from the Detroit Pistons. would shoot the ball like he was jacking it behind his head, and he kind of like pull it back like this. I don't know. I would see guys at the park that would shoot like that, and I'm like, that is not shooting form. You shoot from the front and you push it forward and you follow through with your wrist. He takes both hands and just throws it, and it goes in. And I'm just like, that's not shooting form. He'll run down the court. And it goes in. I'm like, what the hell was that?
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of reminds me of Lamar. It's unorthodox, but it works for him. And what I'm glad with the Ravens is that they haven't tried to change it and mess him up and make him try to be more
benefit,
So they're playing to his strengths, and it looks like that is helping him tremendously. So again, I'm hesitantly giving them a lot of credit right now because I do see them doing some things a little bit differently, but it's all gonna show when the big lights of the playoffs come in.
That's right.
So I reserve my reserve judgment until I really see what they really do. So that's going to be interesting. So anyway, you got the Jaguars at number 4. Number 5 right now are the Doo-Doos. And they play Cincinnati in their closer. At number 6 right now, you got the Bills, but again, the Bills are playing Miami, so that could flip right there too. So what's natural, what could happen is if the Bills beat the Dolphins, it's possible that the Dolphins could go as low as 5 or 6, depending on if the Browns beat the Bengals. And then you got the Colts currently as the number 7 to get into the wild card. They're second in the AFC South. But they have to play Houston. Houston has the same record. So if Houston beats the Colts, then the Colts could still, then the Texans could still slide in to the playoffs, which would be amazing after the record that they had last year. So it's very, very, it says if they win, they have a 99% chance of getting into the playoffs. If the Colts lose, they have a 1% chance. So that kind of tells you. The Steelers are the last team on the bubble. If they win, there's a 63% chance that they get in. Currently, they have their 44% chance. So, of course, their chances increase. If they lose, there's only a 14% chance. So, definitely got to win to get in.
Got to win, man. Got to win.
Got to win. The NFC is a little bit more locked up right now, which is weird. But you got those 49ers in at 12-4 right now with the number 1 seed. You got the Cowboys currently at number 2. Come on, Commanders, but not likely. So more than likely, the Cowboys will stay at number 2. The Detroit Lions, who wrapped up the NFC North, are in at 3. They will stay at 3. Number 4 is your shaky because it's the NFC South. And again, that will be decided once the Tampa Bay Buccaneers make quick work of the Carolina Kitty Cats. I can't even call y'all Panthers. Panthers are fierce. You be scared of being in a room with a Panther. Ain't nobody's being scared of being in a room with y'all. The Kitty Cats. Anyway, there's another word for kitty cats I really wanted to use, but anyway. More fitting.
Like
yeah, definitely. 5-letter word. I'm gonna bring them. Oh God, it would be more fitting. Number 5 right now are those Eagles. They do play the Giants. More than likely, if they beat the Giants, they will remain the number 5 team, which means that they would be playing on the road through the playoffs. Number 16 Rand is really surprised me because the way that they've played at the beginning of the year, I didn't see this coming, and that's the LA Rams.
The Rams, and they're hot at the right time.
And you got Puka, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Kyron, who also helped me win my fantasy this year because I picked him up after he got off of IR.
Yeah.
I did that on the slide because nobody had picked him up. I was like, I didn't get this kid. I think he gonna do it.
You want to know a bonehead mistake? I was the one that released him.
You the reason. Because I'm like, when I saw him, I'm like, really? All right. And he just sat there for a while too, because he was on IR. Nobody was thinking about him. I was like, okay, let me see if he's still there. I was, oh my God, he's still there. I got rid of Zach Moss and got him. That's who I traded. I cut to get Kyron. I got rid of Zach Moss. Once Jonathan Taylor came back, I was like, I think I'm gonna need me another running back eventually. Let me see who else is out there. Kyron Williams, he hurt, but he ain't gonna stay hurt. He on one of them. He had to be out 4 games and all that stuff. I was like, okay, let me play him down the stretch. So he's
that kid is special, man. That kid
great.
is special. So
oh my God.
if the Rams get into the playoffs, they can make some noise.
I believe so. I believe so. To your point, Kyron Williams, 20 carries, 87 yards, 3 touchdowns. Definitely kept me in it this past week. Thank you, Kyron. Appreciate that. Okay. Anthony, Anthony, if you keep this up, I'm gonna have to make you our sideline reporter live on the show. Breaking news, Pro Bowl roster is out. Very good, very good. Yeah, so let me see where else we were at. So you got the Rams at number 6. That is definitely good. And then 7 you have currently would be the Green Bay Packers. If they win, they're pretty much in 99%. Currently, they're 63%. If they lose, they only got a 15% chance to get in. And that's because the Seahawks are right there at their heels. That's because the Saints are right there at their heels. That's because the Minnesota Vikings are at their heels. The Vikings are probably out of it because they have to play Detroit. Basically, if they lose to Detroit, they have no shot. If the Falcons lose to New Orleans, they have no shot. Even if the Falcons win, their probability is 36%. You go from currently 14% to only 36% if you win. So you probably ain't getting in.
Smith, you're done.
Yeah, Smith. It's been nice, but there's only going to be one Arthur left in Atlanta, and that's the owner. So goodbye, Arthur. The Saints right now, if they win, they only have a 51% chance, but they have no chance if they lose to Atlanta. Seahawks need a lot of help too, because right now, even if they win, they're only 44% chance likely to get in. If they lose to the Cardinals, they'll be out. And that would be a shame because they started out the season with a whole lot of promise behind Geno Smith. And it kind of fell a little bit apart at the end with Geno being hurt, Drew Lock coming in. Drew actually did a pretty good job in one of the games and stuff, but they just they got hot too early. Sometimes you get hot too early and then you cool off. That would be what the Seahawks did. They were hot really early, and people were like, "Whoa, wait a minute." Carroll really did believe in Geno. Geno's really turning out to, be the dude, I guess. But I don't blame their failings on totally Geno. It was just kind of the team just fell apart.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. So, but it's wrapping up. We'll have definitely a clear picture. We'll have a clear picture when we have the show next week for sure. We'll definitely know who's going to be what. We'll know what coaches have already been out. I'm predicting because there are already some openings now. Of course, you got the Chargers open already. Panthers are open already. The Raiders are open already. That's going to be interesting to see too. All right, Rand, what's going on with the Broncos trying to sit Russell Wilson because he won't restructure a contract?
Man, that's just a dirty game, man. Just dirty business. First of all, the Broncos kind of lured him to Denver by offering him that money. Hey, if you get hurt, here's a $37 million guarantee for you. So that becomes an attractive offer for Russ to sign in order to get him to even come to Denver. So now that he's there, they want to come back and say, you know what, I think that you should restructure that agreement. Well, he's not under any obligation to restructure money that you both agreed upon before. He doesn't have to do that. So with him not wanting to do that, now they're going to come and bench him for the final 2 games because there's not going to take a chance on him getting hurt.
Right.
And then owing him $37 million upon him getting hurt. So rather than push for the playoffs, we're just gonna bench you. It's a dirty game, man. But nobody says anything when businesses cover themselves like
Yeah,
that. But everybody wants to dog a player for doing the same thing, i.e., like opting out of a Pro Bowl or opting out of the bowl games in college. People dog players for stuff like that. But
mhm.
when big business does it to a player, nobody blinks an eye.
It's
So
funny you say that. I was watching Unc and Ocho on a nightcap, and that was Shannon Sharp's take on that too. Where it's funny how fans sit there and have no problem when billionaires ask millionaires to take a pay cut. I'm like, you're absolutely right. It's like
yeah,
crazy. Like, okay, wait a minute. The billionaires, because if a billionaire asks a millionaire to take a pay cut and they don't do it, now you selfish. Now you're not trying to win and all those other kind of things. But when the billionaires do all these other things, cost cuttings, not going out getting players because it's going to cost a couple of dollars extra and things like that, there's hardly any blowback on the owners for not doing all they can to win. Um, but when the players sit there and they say, no, you know what? I'm going to get as much money as I can because uh, we don't have guaranteed contracts. We can be cut at any time, and all that money, it was a 10-year deal and it was worth this. Okay, they cut me after 1 year and they only owe me, they're only on the hook for X amount, not that fully amount of the contract, which is why now players are fighting for fully guaranteed contracts because, hey, if a team doesn't like you after 3 years, they can make those last 2 years just not even exist, basically. And it just be dead money against the cap, not money that they have to pay you. So it was kind of interesting to see that, like you said, they lured him with that. Their concern is that when the new NFL season begins in early March, they're afraid that if he played all of the games, he wouldn't be able to pass his physical in enough
yeah,
time. And if he doesn't pass his physical, even if he passes his physical later, the 39 million would trigger. So then if you
yeah.
try to cut
Like
him,
say for instance, if
yeah,
he goes out there and tears an Achilles or has an ACL injury, of course he's not going to be able to pass a physical come March. So
right,
that's going to kick in. So
right.
rather than take that chance, we're just going to bench you.
Hmm.
I hate it for Russ. I think this has been really driven by Sean Payton.
Me
He
too.
doesn't like Russell.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty obvious that Russ ain't his quarterback. He wants to go get his own. So he's using this as a tactic. Uh, Russell Wilson will not be a Bronco next year, and the Broncos are going to have a hell of a lot of dead cap money to pay.
Did you catch Ryan Clark calling Sean Payton a thug?
I did see RC do that. Yeah, yeah,
I detect no lies.
no,
Because I mean that's pretty thuggish to go to a player and say, "Hey, if you don't do this, we gonna do that." So that cannot be acceptable with a collectively bargain when you're unionized. For a team
right.
to basically say, if you don't do what we both signed on your contract, if you won't change it, we're going to retaliate. It's retaliation.
It's absolute retaliation.
We're gonna retaliate. We're gonna sit there and make you, because here's the thing. They knew good and damn well hell he wasn't gonna do that. So they basically called the bluff to say, okay, we're gonna basically tell him that if he don't do it, we're gonna sit there and bench his ass, knowing good and well who gonna turn down $39 million. Oh, sure, I'll
Nobody.
restructure it. How much you want me to write it out for? 2 million? We can do 2 million. He ain't gonna do that. So they already knew that. So they said, you know what? We just needed that, like you said. I think it was Sean Payton saying, you know what? I need a reason to bench him. And that became a reason. If I was Russell Wilson, I would fake an injury. Ocho said if I was not Drew Lock, if I was Stidham, I'd fake an injury. Well, Stidham ain't gonna do that because Stidham need the money more than Russell does, and then to make them bring Russell back out there and stuff. Stidham ain't got that kind of loyalty to Russell to do no mess like that. But yeah, that is that. I mean, it's just so underhanded, and it just makes you look at a franchise in a different way. You know, Peyton
Yeah,
Manning is
dirty, man.
there, and all of that, and you're like, man, y'all resorting to these kind of tactics, and these are the ones that we hear about. What other underhanded bull crap are y'all doing that don't get reported like that?
Exactly.
Man,
About these smaller level 50, 52nd, 53rd roster players,
right, right.
nobody cares about the special team players. I'm sure they get dirtied like probably on a weekly basis. We just don't hear about it.
Right, because they just kinda know, okay, if I put it out there, then that may, uh, uh, keep me from being able to be on another team, and, because it's all a big clubhouse, so, yeah, they talk. Owners talk, general managers talk, "Hey, what kind of player is he? Hey, can I trust him in the locker room?" If I sit there and need him to restructure, is he gonna give me a hard time? They talk about all those kind of things. They have their winter meetings and all that kind of stuff. They talk about stuff like that, and you can get blackballed. Ask Colin Kaepernick.
Absolutely.
I mean, if that ain't the biggest black ball in the NFL ever, I don't know what is. So of course they talk. Of course they say, "Hey, you ain't thinking about trying him out, are you?" Why?
Yeah. I don't even want to go down that whole rabbit hole of what happened to Colin, but I mean, I will say it just pisses me off when
Yes,
people say that he lost his job due to performance. You're out of your freaking mind, man.
totally, totally, totally. Yeah, we know how this league goes. They love you till they don't. So that's just it. That's it. And whether it can be classified as um collaboration, whether it can be collusion and that kind of thing classified that way, it doesn't matter if it's technically that. But if it smells like collusion, it probably is collusion. And I'll say that. So uh
And that reeks of collusion.
reeks of it. So Russ definitely played his last game as a Denver Bronco. I'm sure that will be very welcoming to all of the Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Um, I keep hearing more and more people suggest that that's where he go next. I think the only person that would probably be dead set against it is Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph's like, come on in, we got plenty of room. I'm still gonna be here.
you
I'll
know,
be I'll be number 3, but if you get hurt, I'll be number 2.
I will say as a Steeler fan, I have not been a Russell Wilson fan at all
Right.
over the years. But I would kind of like to see what Mike T could get out of him and see that relationship because I think it would be beneficial to the both of them.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah. I think he could. Now, see, here's the thing though. How much does Russell really have left in the tank? Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? It's somewhere around that. So whatever you're bringing him in for, you really bringing it in because you think that his experience, his leadership could be what can get you over the hump. Whether it's first win the North, then push to the AFC Championship game. You gotta win that division first, and hopefully try to win the conference so that you can get that first round bye. That is so important not to have to play that extra game and play all of your games on the road. If you feel like he's that guy that can do it, Kenny, we love you, but you're gonna have to learn on the dude. If you feel like we're wasting you away, we'll send you to Dallas with Trey Lance. Please send him to Dallas. Speaking of Dallas, do you understand that Dallas is about to restructure Dak Prescott's contract and it's going to probably pay him between 50 and $60 million?
Oh, really? No, I ain't heard that.
Yeah, yeah, bro. They're gonna have to do it. They got to because uh, if they don't restructure it in this offseason, when he comes up due again, it could be more than that. That's the crazy part. So yeah. Um, Anthony says Sierra will have a choice where they go, and I'm picking Vegas or Atlanta. I heard Ocho bring up Atlanta. I know, I'm sorry, Shannon bring up Atlanta, and Ocho used a bunch of explicatives as to why that would be a bad idea. And I agree with Ocho on that one because to what I just said with Russell, he's on the tail end. He needs to be in a place that has a chance to contend. Even though Atlanta has Drake London, even though they have Kyle Pitts, who did nothing on my fantasy team again, even though they have Bijan Robinson, I'm not bitter. Yes, I am. Because you know what's going to happen? Next draft, I'm not going to pick him, and somebody else going to have him, and he going to ball out. And I'm going to be pissed. Anyway, I know it's going to happen. They got Bijan Robinson, so there is a nucleus there. But I don't really see Russell. I mean, it's Atlanta, though. I mean, you know, it's happening area.
I kind of agree with you. I kind of see that it might happen, but I kind of agree with you, too, that they're probably looking at a youth movement as a quarterback.
Correct. Hey, Bryce Young is available.
Please let him be available, man. I said I would touch on him a little bit.
Please do.
I'm not gonna murder Bryce, but it just sucks to give him a little bit of props after the Green Bay game, and then he goes and resorts right back to all of the same stuff he was doing when we started crucifying him in week 3. Poor footwork, holding on to the ball too long, not going through progressions, taking sacks that are unnecessarily, throwing the ball anywhere, no accuracy, to get shut out 26-0 by the Jaguars' backup quarterback is absolutely disgraceful, man. So what are you going to do, Bryce, in this final game against the Buccaneers to send Carolina out on a high note that makes us have any kind of faith in the offseason that we chose a good quarterback? Brian, I don't think there's anything that this guy can do to put me in a good space to where I believe we picked up a good quarterback at number 1. He better go out and have a 404 touchdown day. And I don't see it, man. I don't see it at all.
Let me make you feel better. In 4 quarters of an NFL football game, 4 quarters, the Carolina Panthers managed 124 total yards.
That is freaking... It's laughable. It's laughable.
This is passing and rushing. 67 net yards passing. Now, he threw for 112, I believe. But because he got sacked 6 times, it negated his yardage. 6 sacks. So he ends up with 67 net passing yards, 57 net rushing yards, for an average of 2.3 yards per play, which makes sense because he threw the ball 32 times. 19 of 32 for 112 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. I'm going to say this again. In an NFL football game, in 4 quarters.
Is there anything this guy could do that will give you any kind of optimism?
No. He can't grow. He can't grow.
You went there.
Shit. You the miracle grow on him. He ain't gonna get no color. Ain't a damn thing he can do for me right now. No, just burn it all down. Bam. 124 yards for a professional. I ain't talking about the XFL. Hell, I ain't talking about arena football who can get 5 times more yardage than that. This is an NFL football team that had 124 yards in 60 minutes. How?
Man.
How?
I'm just saying, these are the darkest days I've seen as a Panther fan since 2001, man.
And then Temple want to throw some drinks on people. Now the owner getting fined $300,000 from the NFL because he didn't know his team sucked, apparently. Bro, why are you throwing drinks at the Jacksonville fans? You need to go to the locker room and throw it at that team. You throwing drinks at the wrong people, bro.
You need to throw a drink right in Bryce Young's face.
I mean, but now you're gonna have to aim really down when you do it. If you throw it straight, you're gonna miss it. Oh,
it's gonna go right over his head.
Clearly, it ain't gonna even be anywhere near him. He's gonna be like, damn. Oh man,
it's raining out here.
What was that? By the time he looks. Oh God, Anthony says, does the Panthers have a second round pick? I know they don't have a first. No, they gave it to Chicago when they lost last week. Because they guaranteed having the worst record. So they would have had the first round pick this draft if they hadn't given it away for one Mighty Mouse Bryce Young. So yeah, that's why we have to laugh to keep from crying, because this is totally sad. They do have a second round pick, but again, like I said in other shows, they're more than likely going to get the only way to get into the first round. They're going to have to trade Brian Burns. And I'm going to be honest, the way Burns has finished the year, I don't know if he's going to get that first round pick. Might be a late one.
Yeah, might be a late one, but they need to do it.
They're going to have to do it. Man. If somebody will give you the 32nd pick of the first round, take it.
Please take it.
Because then you have an opportunity to move up with that pick and package it with something else. But if you don't even have a this year first round pick to entice somebody, they're not going to play necessarily for a future first round, or you're not going to move up to a team of consequence that if they have needs, they're going to want to be able to pick somebody later in the first round. You can't say, well, I'll give you our 2025 first round pick, because that won't do it
right now.
They need something right now. So if you're 31 or 32, it's not going to make sense to move up to 23, where they might say, yeah, we can punt till next year because we're going to get a late pick anyway. So we could probably drop down to the second round and get the same person anyway. That would work in that case, but you're going to need to get into the top 12. And to do that, you're going to need that first round pick and some other capital to be able to do that. So that's the position that they're currently in. So no, Bryce Young, terrible, absolutely terrible. But hey, we got one more week of the regular season. A lot of things are still hanging in the balance, so it is going to be an exciting week. We will sit there and bring it all to you next Wednesday because we'll know what teams are in, what teams have already emptied out their lockers, and which coaches are looking for a realtor. If you are needing a realtor and you're thinking about moving to Charlotte, please give me a call, as I am a realtor and I can definitely find and sell you a house. So
you might be able to get your old house back.
Ron, come on. I can get you in Huntersville, Ballantyne. Come check me out, Ron. I got you, bro. Hell, move on out here to Concord with me. We got some nice houses. You can live in obscurity. Nobody will even know you're here. That's what you move on out there to Men Hill with Rand. He'll take care of you.
Come on, brother. I got you.
All right. Well, we'll close it out for this week. We'll see y'all again next week. Thanks for joining, Rand. Have a good week, sir.
We'll
see
brother.
y'all next time. Y'all be good. Uh-oh. Where's my outro? There we go.